Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who has the dog?
Miss Blair.
I'm the dog lady. I'm the dog lady.
You want to flip this?
What's that?
I think I could
You
read.
want to switch cameras, Jim?
Hey Jim, can you turn this on?
Hal can't
Welcome to
hear
the March 29th, 2007 meeting of the Board of Commissioners.
It's not on yet.
Quote for the day: the best way to cheer yourself up is to try and cheer someone else up.
It's a he, and he's not going to last very long. Oh, look how precious. Oh, he says, wait a minute, I don't want to be here. This week's featured pet at the Lorain County Dog Kennel is a male Jack Russell Terrier. He was picked up in Sheffield Lake, and he's in cage number 44.
Pretty funny.
And is eligible for adoption. Come here. On Tuesday, April 3rd. Come here.
He does.
Shall we name him Wishbone? Would you like to please stop by our kennel and see what we have for dogs? Maybe somebody has a birthday coming up. You'd like to give him a dog. We still batting 1,000, Jack? Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk.
First on the agenda today is the annexation, 16.1227 acres in Elyria Township to the city of Elyria. Attorney John Keys Walker and Stephanie M. Mercado are the agents for the petitioner John and Claire Vanko and Andy and Maria Paulenda. An expedited one petition, legal description and map were received in the office of the clerk on March 14th. Resolution 07190 adopted March 15th received and journalized said petitions. Letter were issued to Mark Stewart, Lorain County Auditor, and Ken Conley, Lorain County Engineer, asking for review and accuracy of the petition. March 22nd, Auditor certified the filing. Also on March 22nd, Lorain County Engineer submitted a letter after review of the description and map of the proposed annexation of 16.1227 acres of land, which is in the original Lot 5, 1.6905 acres, and Lot 6 at 14.4322 acres of Elyria Township to the city of Elyria. The description and map appears to be accurate with county records. This annexation would create a smaller island to be established out of a larger island already caused by the annexations, and the proposed parcel of land is contiguous and adjacent to the city of Elyria. And Agent Stephanie Mercado is here.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Mercado. In addition to Attorney Keys Walker, I'm an agent for the petitioners John and Claire Vanko and Andrew Pavlenda. Mr. Vanko is here this morning with us as well. I am here to request that the Board of Commissioners adopt a resolution to annex 16.1227 acres of land located in Elyria Township to the city of Elyria as an expedited Type 1 annexation as authorized by Ohio Revised Code Section 709.022 and is set forth in the petition of annexation that was filed with Lorain County Commissioners on March 14th, 2007. Before filing the petition, Attorney Keys Walker consulted with Attorney Ennis, who is also attorney for the township, regarding the annexation, and Attorney Ennis did not have any objection to the proceeding as an expedited Type 1 annexation. Out of courtesy, although we weren't required to do so, we have also provided copies of notice of the petition to the township clerk and the Elyria clerk of council. The petition of notice that was filed with the Board of Commissioners on March 14th meets the technical check requirements for a Type 1 expedited annexation, and I'm just going to go through the requirements right now. We submitted the $300 fee on the 14th as well with the petition. The petition asks the board to follow Ohio Revised Code 709.022, and that's set forth in the heading of the petition. The petition also includes the signatures of all the property owners, being Mr. John Vanko, Mrs. Claire Vanko, and Andrew Pavlenda. Excuse me. Being legally competent adults and having title to the property on the day that the notice was filed. The owners are entitled to file the petition. The date that the signatures were obtained is also within 180 days of when the petition was filed, being 1 day before. As confirmed with the county engineer, the petition includes an accurate legal description of the perimeter of the proposed property to be annexed, in addition to an accurate map of the property. And you can see up on the screen, that's the map that was submitted. The petition also includes the name of myself and Attorney Keys Walker and our address as petitioners for the agent. The petition, in addition to the petition, was also submitted a list of all parcels in the area to be annexed and adjacent territory that includes the name of the owner, mailing address, permanent parcel number. That was also submitted with the petition. The real estate is also contiguous to the city of Elyria, as you can see on the map. And you can even, when I refer to the JED agreement, you'll even see, because it's a larger view of the area, you can see that it's surrounded by the city of Elyria. At the end of the petition, before the signature, it includes the statutory disclosure statement in boldface capital letters regarding waiver of appeal rights. And the petition is also accompanied by a certified joint economic development district contract between Elyria Township and the city of Elyria, dated February 3rd, 2003, specifically section 12 of the agreement. The parties to the agreement agreed that the township will not contest any annexation proceeding pursuant to Chapter 709 of the Ohio Revised Code regarding any of land that's contained in the addendum in blue. And I'm not quite sure if the copy that you got was a color copy. It's a little bit more difficult to see if it's a copy in gray, but I can provide you. I've got a color copy here, but the proposed property to be annexed is within that blue area that the parties agreed on. And all the property is located in Lorain County. So as such, that we're requesting that the board adopt a resolution annexing 16.1227 acres of land from the township of Elyria to the city of Elyria as an expedited type 1 annexation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any comments on this annexation?
My name's Rob Scheitauer. I'm an Elyria Township trustee. We did enter into a JED agreement in 2003 with the city. Speaking for the Board of Trustees, we don't approve the annexation, but we're not going to disapprove it due to the fact we have an agreement with the city. So thank you very much. Okay.
Rob, what does that mean?
That means I'm not crazy about it,
Okay.
but we had an agreement with a JED agreement, and we got to honor that agreement.
Okay, so it's already per the agreement.
It's per our agreement with the city of Elyria. I just wanted to, she said it, but I just thought I'd repeat it.
Okay, all right,
The Board of
thank you.
Trustees.
This area is part of the agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
It's also part
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
tax sharing agreement between the township and the city?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else with comments? I'd like to make, go ahead.
Just one question. On the right of this triangle piece that you're wanting to annex, to the left of that, is that also Elyria?
Yeah, to the left, and to the left is Elyria Township. Our legal description only goes to the roadway right here instead of to the middle of the roadway, because that area of the roadway had previously been annexed.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Any other comments? Like to make a motion to approve
the expedited one annexation.
Commissioner, that motion should indicate that that's upon the finding that all the conditions of section 709.022 have been met.
Got that, Teresa? Okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Thank you.
You want your maps back, Teresa?
Yes, please. At 10 o'clock, there's going to be a public hearing on the FY07 CHIP application, and at 10:10, Nancy Funai, District Administrator, Lorain Soil and Water on the ditch program. Number 1, resolutions, job and family services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Advances and repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Do we want to skip over the next one, or do we want to just, until he gets back, because I don't know if he's going to do it.
We can skip over it, that's fine. I know we
And then
do
go
have
back?
to have, because we do have
Right.
hiring, so yeah, we'll skip over
Until
9
he
at this
comes
point.
back. You okay, Hal? Okay. Amend Resolution 06761, October 5th, 2006, authorizing a donation of a 1994 E350 van to the City of Lorain Senior Center. Said amendment is to reflect the City of Lorain cannot utilize the van, therefore the county will donate to the City of Avon Senior Center.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just to comment on it, the City of Lorain was given by the Board of Commissioners through Commissioner Kukowski, and they did not have anyone with a CDL license to drive the van to provide the services. City of Avon spoke to us, and they do have a CDL driver who will use the van to transport seniors, so that's why there's a change in where the van's going to.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Job and Family, approve and purchase a service agreement with Lorain County Children's Services for child welfare services using TANF funds in the amount of $250,000, effective April 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2007, and authorize director to execute on behalf of the board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Approve an amendment with Emerge Inc. Elyria for the website in the amount of $5,000 for a total not to exceed $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Solid Waste, approve and enter into contract with Environmental Enterprises, Inc. for the operation of the HHW collection program to be paid from the contract services account.
So moved.
Discussion.
Second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Under Workforce Development, amend Resolution 06522 adopted June 29, 2006, approving and enter into purchase of service contracts between WGA for the 2007 WIA programs and services. One is YWCA internship from $50,000 to $64,115, YWCA soft skills from $40,000 to $50,996, and Community College Core from $150,000 to $158,080.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the engineer, approve and enter into contract with Pogemeyer Design Group in the amount of $422,220 to provide engineering services for State Route 57 from the tracks north to the village limits to be paid from professional services account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Could we have a little comment on this?
Bill?
Thanks.
Mr. Holtzman?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is one of the projects that's part of the County Highway Bond Fund, where we're loaning the village actually $300,000 out of that bond fund towards the engineering services on that project. The 122 of the balance was being paid by the village. So they fronted us the 122, and they're borrowing 300 out of our bond fund for this project.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Minister?
Well, we need to go back to number 9. Could just wrap it all up together, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner, and excuse me, I had to step out for an issue. I thought the annexation would take a little longer than it did. Ms. Mercado did a very nice job, and Elyria Township trustees spoke. I would request a brief executive session to look at new hires this morning. I also want to bring you up to date on bargaining unit issue with the United States Workers of America. I am in receipt of some information that I want to share with you with regard to that, and both those issues are allowable for executive session under the Sunshine Law. And I don't have any further reports this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, I have two matters of litigation that I need to discuss with the commissioners in executive session.
Pending, imminent, can we get that clarified?
One is pending, one is imminent.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Shirley?
Well, the phrases are correct.
Okay, all right.
Commissioners report.
I had the pleasure this past Tuesday to go with my assistant to the Erie County Dog Kennel. They just opened it in December, and it's a beautiful, beautiful facility. Just to kind of get some ideas on how we might be able to improve our kennel. Since I've been a commissioner, we've had quite a few cases of parvo at the dog kennel. And I believe it's more a ventilation problem than anything. The Erie County Dog Kennel has had like one in the last 10 years, even when they were in the old facility. So I really think we need to do something about our dog kennel, especially the puppies. Puppies are very susceptible because it's airborne, and their resistance are low because they're so small. So when I went out to our kennel yesterday again, and there's a room when you first walk in. I was thinking about putting some cages or something in there to separate the puppies from the general population of the dogs at the kennel. So I want to work on that. Another thing, we have had some injuries, dog attacks when our deputies are out trying to get some vicious dogs. And the Erie County Dog Deputy and Dog Warden, they all carry weapons. And I want to see that our guys are able to protect themselves from vicious dog attacks. The location of this kennel, every county building is all in the same place. And I'm kind of curious to me now that I'm commissioner, why we put the Justice Center downtown and we didn't put it by the jail and then just start putting everything, we have the parking problems here. I'm thinking, why didn't we do that? Just put it all out in the, rural part of our city. And the last thing about that is the auditor does not have anything to do with the dog licenses. He gave it up. He just gave it over to the dog kennel to take care of everything. And I wish our auditor would do that too.
Up.
Yeah, I
He
wish
gave
our
it
auditor
up.
would do that for us too. So
They
that
issue
we,
and collect everything
yes.
in Erie County?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it was a good experience going out there, and I got some good ideas for our kennel. So
We need a new one.
Yes, you do. You need to do something. That kennel was built in 1998. It's not that old. I remember working on that in 96 and 97, and the general fund loaned money to the Dog and Kennel Fund to put up a new facility. Unfortunately, I was gone from the county when the design work was done on that, and what they simply did was just take the old design and put it in a new building. It's like a half a pole building, and they went right back to the things that we shouldn't have had: stacked cages and compressed containment areas. The only really good addition that we got was the sally port that we could bring the vehicles in. Now, we didn't have that before, and we did get some outside runs out behind, but they didn't go far enough. We didn't get out into the field out there, and we didn't have the walking areas, and we should not have stacked cages, period. It makes the top cages useless, because
they're not using them. I've never seen a dog in the top cage.
Once the dog soils the cage, it runs down into the one underneath, and so we're not able to use our full capacity there. And then when we do get really backed up, we're forced to use those cages, and it makes keeping the kennel and those cages extremely clean. I think that we need to look at a possible redesign of the current facility, or a completely new facility. Unfortunately, again, that facility is only 7 or 8 years old.
I don't necessarily think we need a new facility. I think the biggest problem is the ventilation in there, because when I went out there yesterday, they had just cleaned, but there's still an odor. You know, there's no ventilation. That's a big problem. You don't even want to know that the one in Erie County, they don't have any heat in the building. It's the floors. The
Right.
floors are heated,
Well,
and it keeps, you know, it's nice for the dogs when they're laying. It's, you know, it's
If you look at where the cleaning trays are in front there, you know, once I returned in 2000, I toured the new facility. I was really disturbed because you can't clean those cages right. Those drainage trays shouldn't be in the walkway, especially where the public's walking, and they should be in the back so that everything moves towards the back. And then those grates, we have a lot of problem with those grates because the cleanliness becomes a real issue on flushing them out. It's just a very, very poor design, and there wasn't a lot of good thought put into it at the time. And those kind of things are going to take quite a bit of reconfiguration to redo. I'd really like to take this as a project if you're interested.
There's quite a few other things too. For instance, a lot of times kids are going back there with their parents. The parents are looking at the dogs. The dogs are, you know, the kids are sticking their fingers in the cages, and somebody's going to get hurt out there. So we need to get either a secondary mesh kind of screen in front where the little fingers can't fit in the cages. God bless you.
I have your list, and Jack's been updating me on it, and we're looking at having something, you know, that goes there that's a little bit finer, so that and it won't decrease the ventilation. We're going to probably get some what they call expandable metal, which has smaller holes in it. And then we'll put that. Looked at the plexiglass issue, but that gets pretty.
That will get too dirty.
But the expandable mesh, we're just going to have to get it galvanized to make sure they hose it down well, because it'll capture bacteria and debris. So we're working on it. Those improvements are going to be really good. But I will suggest that we're going to need to do some kind of capital improvement. If we take down those stackable cages, which I really think needs to happen, then we're going to need to put another wing on the kennel so we have more of those larger runs, so that the dogs have more room to go. And then we need to have an outside area so we can let them go outside and they can be walked outside. And the little room you're talking about in the front, that was supposed to be a viewing room, but it's
adoption room, but they don't use it very often.
No, and it's really in a poor location. It's poorly set up. That we need, and it's not big enough to really do anything with the dog. You need a bigger areas, and so you can walk the dog and spend some time with it. So I'll work with Jack, bring you some suggestions. This would be a really good project. So I'll get on top of that for you.
Good, thank you.
Commissioner Blair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let anybody who's interested know that tomorrow, Friday, March 30th, from 1 to 2:30, the West Shore Corridor stakeholders are meeting the guests of Lakewood Mayor Tom George and All Aboard Ohio to further discuss our commuter rail project coming from Cleveland. And secondly, if anyone is interested, there is a vacancy on the Lorain County Visitors Bureau Board. Interested, just send a letter with your qualifications to the director, Barb Bickle. Saturday, I attended the Catholic Action Commission annual dinner, and I wanted to note that our solid waste department is actively involved with them and their Lorain County Furniture Bank program, furnishing families with dignity. So for pickup or donations, the number to call is 240-0089. Thank you, Marilyn, for providing me with the program. And fourth, Joe Faga from First Energy's Power Systems is announcing in conjunction with Lorain County Community College an evening orientation for a program that will begin in August. The orientation is Thursday, April 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. For qualified students, you will receive free tuition, including college fees, books, and protective clothing. And there is a 1-800 number, 829-6801 to call for further information. That's my report.
You reminded me of something too. There's an opening on the Fair Board too, but I'm not sure who to contact. Does anybody know?
The Fair Board's autonomous. That's on our appointment. So.
Well, I know. I'm just saying. Anybody interested in being on the Lorain County Fair Board? There's an opening there too.
I think any of the Fair Board members you could contact.
Well done.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
I had an opportunity this week, or last week actually, to meet with the Sheriff's Department and Voorhees and Associates, the consulting firm that we hired for the Phase 1 study on improving the jail issues. She's about halfway through. We spent about 2.5 hours discussing possible options and the overcrowding and assessing the type of criminals we actually house. And we've turned into a basically all felony jail at this point, and it was amazing based on United States averages what we're housing nowadays. Abductions, kidnappings, murders is a lot higher than most municipalities our size, so it's definitely an issue. She hopes in the next 6 to 8 weeks that we will receive, the final part of Phase 1, then we'll have to entertain a Phase 2. Also attended the dairy banquet on Saturday night in New Russian Township. They awarded the Achievement Award to the gentleman who owns Consun Foods, Convenient, and the dairy processing. I had a nice talk there. We sat with Sheriff Stamidy and his wife, and we were, discussing issues with other people around the table and how large of an industry the dairies are in Lorain County. Surprised you on the commission. I went to that.
I'm glad you were there.
Also, had the opportunity on Monday, accompanied State Rep Matt Lundy to the Innovation Alliance meeting that was held at RPM Industries in Medina. The new partnership between the University of Akron and Lorain County Community College on the Innovation Corridor, where they will be working on doing high-tech training. It was very good. Surprised me. RPM Industries does $3.3 billion a year in sales. They have 9,000 employees, 1,000 in the state of Ohio. Just a massive company. As we saw the products they make, it's all coatings, Rust-Oleum, Trimco, Bondo. I was amazed a little company like that started in Cleveland, Ohio in a garage, and now it's a $3.3 million sales entity in Medina. Had a nice conversation, met 2 more county commissioners from Medina County. Opportunity to have lunch with them, which was very nice. And then on Monday night, I attended City of Avon's announcement on the new YMCA and their proposed baseball field, and Mayor Smith speaking of adding an income tax to the people who work in the City of Avon to pay for it. More issues coming, I believe, on that, but I got to speak to the director of the Greater Cleveland YMCA. Ron Twining was there also, Dan Martin from the Metro Parks. They had a lot of great ideas, so hope to see how that comes out later in the year. Yesterday, Jim and I met with Ann Hill from Governor Strickland's office, presenting issues that Lorain County is very passionate about. We spoke about jail dollars, hopefully capital budget. We spoke about the rising indigent fees in the state of Ohio not participating. We spoke about commuter rail per Commissioner Blair. Over 2-hour meeting. I think we did very well, Jim. You have any comments on that?
Well, I think that we definitely made some positions known with the governor's rep, and I must say that this is the first time in all the years that I've been here that we had somebody from the governor's office come visit us here in our facility in Lorain County, and we did talk about those issues that are near and dear to our heart. Most importantly was the tax money leaving Lorain County and the failure of prior administrations to return significant value for that money leaving Lorain County, and our concerns with all the local government issues and the unfunded mandates and the continued lack of complete partnership from the state to what we term as pay their fair share. She took a lot of notes. I don't know
Yes,
if
she
it's gonna
did.
have a lot
She
of
did a very
effect.
nice job. She was very genuine that she was interested. It wasn't just some of our past meetings with elected
Right.
officials, representatives.
Absolutely. I think she was a little surprised that she may have opened the spigot a little bit too much. But we did leave her with a lot to look at, and I'm comfortable though that at least right now some people are listening. Hopefully we'll be able to transform those discussions into some appreciable outcomes that will allow us to lift some of the burdens, and not just here in Lorain County, but in most of the local governments in the county, at the county level within the state. We need some help.
And also, good luck Buckeyes this weekend, Final Four. Teresa?
I have nothing. Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second. Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
We have a 10 o'clock now.
Yep. We're going to do the FY07 CHIP grant. Mr. Twining, you want to start?
Good morning, Commissioners. If you remember, we have to hold 2 public hearings for the CDBG. Today is the second. The first one was held on March 1st, and I have the pleasure of introducing Phyllis Dunlap from the consulting firm of CT Consultants out of Willoughby, Ohio. Phyllis will actually be conducting the public hearing today and answer any questions you have.
Good morning.
Morning. Thank you. As Ron said, I'm Phyllis Dunlap. I'm with CT Consultants, and we are currently helping to administrate your current FY05 grant, and we're working on preparing the proposal for the 06 grant. The Community Housing Improvement Program this year proposes to include four programs. The private owner rehab project or program, which is for bringing houses up to the state standard. That is a all or nothing program. If you are participating, then your house needs to meet the standard by the time we've completed the project. We propose to use $264,000 for that and complete 7 houses with that funding. The average assistance hard cost for that project, for those projects, will be $32,571. The second activity would be home building repair assistance, and we're proposing to use $64,000 to do 8 housing structures, and those type of projects would be projects that are immediate need. Furnace doesn't work in the winter, the roof is leaking, the hot water tank is not working, gas is turned off. Those type of items are done under the home building repair program. Home ownership, we're proposing to use $102,000. Approximately 3 potential buyers would be assisted with those dollars. Those houses also would need to meet the state standard 6 months of close. However, the state has given us a little bit more option on the home ownership program with the 07 projects. What they're saying is they're going to allow us to do either down payment with rehab or subsidize a new home if it meets the state standard, which is different than what they were allowing us to do before. Before we had to pick. Now they're giving the flexibility to the buyer and combining those programs, which they're hoping will increase the ability for that program to take off. And the fourth activity is tenant-based rental assistance, and we're proposing to use $10,000 for that activity, and approximately 11 households will be assisted. The tenant-based rental assistance will provide first month's rent, security deposit, utility deposit, or first month's utility. So it's only provided to the renter one time. It's not an ongoing monthly subsidy as some of the tenant-based rental assistance is. And that program we're proposing for LMHA to administer because they have all of the things in place in order to do that. Administration, this year we're proposing to use $58,000 and fair housing at $2,000. You'll notice that the implementation line is gone. Implementation, I don't know if you're aware, is no longer a line item. To accommodate that, what they're doing is they're including it in the activity line. So implementation will be considered a soft cost that will be added to the hard cost and be billed against the address to show an average cost of getting the project done. So the numbers that I've included on where I've given you the 32, like in the private owner rehab, the 32,571, that doesn't include the implementation soft cost. That's hard cost for construction. Okay? The only other thing, private owner rehab does include removing lead-based paint hazards. The home ownership program includes that. The home building repair, we will do our best to avoid touching paint and keeping those, if we are touching paint, keeping those under $5,000. And the reason for that is because once you hit the threshold, then the federal law says that you must do a risk assessment and do the lead hazards first. And if the person needs a furnace, we really don't want to spend all the money on the lead hazards. So we will be watching that. Do you have any questions?
2 questions. The total grant amount is $500,000. Administration is $58,000. Isn't it usually just a 10% cap for administration?
Okay, that's a very good question. 10% for home funds, 12% for overall grant. We are upping the administration cost this year because in past years, the implementation was for doing a project. So if you were specifically working on an address, okay, doing the bid process, inspecting that property, getting it ready to go, that was attributable to that address. From here forward, because you have to have an outcome in order to be reimbursed, for the county to be reimbursed. Say we go out to the house and we do the initial inspection, and we get all the way to the point where we get the lead test back and we find out that this is a walk-away. Well, we'll have to transfer that to admin. We won't be able, there'll be no address to charge it to. So you would essentially lose if you can't charge it to admin. So we've increased the admin amount to try to allow for those things that are not going to go all the way through the process. Whether it's just an inspection that doesn't fly, doesn't go forward, or if you get all the way to the end and the homeowner doesn't want to sign, they've decided they don't want to do it, at that point it's going to transfer to admin.
We had a problem with this in our last grant. When we finished our audit, the question to them was exactly what some of the issues that were said here. What do we do if the homeowner decides at the conclusion of the process that they don't want to participate, and we've already expended a considerable amount of resources on the property? Where do we recapture those costs from? Their position was, if you went out and did that and you didn't have a successful outcome, pretty much they told us we ate the cost. And I see Ron smiling there, and that's an unacceptable position because this program is a grant program. So hopefully the small increase in the administrative fee will allow us to be able to recapture that and bring it back to admin. I'm not completely sure that's even enough. I mean, we had a couple unsuccessful events that were a little bit costly that we had to position around in the last audit. So this is going to be one of those. Let's take a look and see. But I don't think the state is right in their requirements on this. Simply because you did the work and you didn't get the homeowner didn't fail to complete the process shouldn't make the cost come under the general fund. It's another one of these things where we're really trying to work these programs locally. The general fund just can't afford to have that expenditure and not be recovered. And here comes Mr. Twining, so I hope I explained it accurately.
You did an excellent job. I will point out one additional thought. When we did the 2003 grant, which we just finished the audits and things on, we were paying on average $100 for the inspections for the home building repair. The state said that was unacceptable because that was based on our building codes. And that's not the same as the rehabilitation standards that the state requires. And so now we're paying $1,000 for the state required inspection. Ooh. So that comes out of the admin if, in fact, that's a walkaway or a house that we don't complete. So those couple of things are what are affecting this.
And recognizing out of that admin, we try to reimburse our cost of our employees that are actively engaged in working the program and administering the program. So we're trying to recapture some of those costs too. Even the smallest, even the smallest of those grants gets kind of complicated, making sure that we're maximizing the return to the citizenry and also to our general fund so that we can extend our resources.
If I could just say, what I try to do when I administer a grant, and I don't know what your previous consultant did, but we try very diligently to estimate what we think the lead will be, to try to determine whether this is going to be a walkaway before the county incurs a lot of cost. And then we try to notify homeowners, hey, this is what we estimate your project to be, and are you going to be able to put in funding should it be this high? We try to keep everything within the grant funding amount that you're awarded. And I think so far we're doing that. And I really don't think that you're going to have a problem with that. It's not my experience. Not to say that it won't happen, because, you know, this whole implementation thing is new to us as well as you. But in past grants, I have not exceeded what the county has been awarded, or any city that I currently administer has been awarded.
My second question, out of all these different programs, is it a first come, first serve basis for people to utilize these?
Okay. The home building repair is first come, first serve. The TBRA is also first come, first serve, and so is the home ownership. The home ownership, though, is first come, first serve with a purchase agreement. And the reason for requiring that they have a purchase agreement is that, as anybody who's bought a house knows, it can take a long time to walk into the front door of the house that you really want. And you may think you want to live in Elyria, but you can't find the house that you like in Elyria, and you end up in North Ridgeville. You know, so I don't think that it is good for anyone to take an application and hold it, because the object of the game here is to spend the money. So we want to make sure that we're providing assistance to those who are ready to go. So when you have that purchase agreement, then we start processing. Until then, we'll hold the applications, absolutely, but you're not in line for funding until you actually have a purchase agreement. On the private owner rehab, so long as there are more applications than there are slots, in other words, we estimate we're going to do 7. So long as there are more applications than those 7, we do it on a ranking process. And there are 2 parts to the ranking process. The top part is based on income and family size, or family makeup, I should say. So, for instance, if you're spending 50%, well, if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing, you get a certain amount of points. If you are under 50% of median income, you get a few extra points. If you are a family of 4 or larger, you get extra points. If you're elderly, if you're handicapped, we have different things that we feel should, you know, that you need more than, you know, the average mom and dad with, you know, 2 kids. So you get extra points for those things. Then on the bottom, we rank the house, okay? So we have a system where we rank the major things in the house: the plumbing, the heating, the structure, et cetera, and we assign points to those. We take the bottom half and we add it to the top half, and we take the person or the families with the most points first. Okay. And that's how we come up with hopefully a fair way to choose who's going to receive assistance. And then we just go until we run out of funds.
Mr. Chairman, just to point that this grant is housing activities countywide, excluding the cities of Lorain, Elyria, North Ridgeville, Sheffield Lake, and Oberlin.
Yes.
And I think just for the listening public.
And it's not because we don't like them, it's because they have their own funding sources to do that.
Right. Hopefully I've covered everything.
Mm-hmm.
The private owner rehab and the home ownership are provided on a 0% interest deferred loan with 15% paid back later on. The home building repair is provided on a grant basis, and so is the TBRA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron?
The first item you'd have to do is ask the public if there's any comments or questions in addition, then close the public hearing, and at the conclusion of that, we would ask for a motion to authorize us to make this application. I think we would like to get everything signed today and send it off either tomorrow or Friday. So those are the next steps.
I got my note from my secretary, Betty.
For our boss, Ron.
Yeah.
Any public comment? Mr. Lynch, are you standing up for public comment, or are you just passing around the sign-in sheet?
Passing around the sign-in sheet.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move the public hearing be closed.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Motion to approve the application.
Second?
Discussion. Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have now,
Soil and water.
Nancy Funny from
Yep.
Soil and Water.
Okay, I'm Nancy Funny. I'm the District Administrator with Lorain Soil and Water. I worked previously with Erie County Soil and Water for a little over 15 years, and I came here in November of 2005 to work with Lorain Soil and Water in their drainage program. So I am familiar with the drainage programs and how they operate, although both counties do it a little differently. Our county is very unique in the state of Ohio because the county commissioners have funded this program. There are not counties that are graced by the commissioners to let this happen. I'm here today to explain to you our drainage program and ask for funding. Our program starts with the commissioners funding this program to allow the projects to move forward. We have public individuals come into our office or phone our office asking for drainage help, which most of the time is flooding from either neighbors, subdivisions, whatever the case may be. We go out and we look at the project, make sure it's feasible. We move forward and give the individual a contact list of everybody that is on the drainage program or on that particular ditch. We get that off of the auditor's website, and we also give them a group agreement. The group agreement is passed around by the contact person to all the individuals that are on the ditch, and that allows us to do preliminary investigation and move forward to the next step. We have to have everybody's signature on that group agreement to move forward. The step after that is the individual agreements, and what that entails is a 20-foot construction easement attached to the homeowner's deed. We take a 50-foot for construction because 20 foot is not large enough for the equipment to turn around in and do the work that they need to do. The 20-foot is attached to the homeowner's deed with an assessment. The assessment is for $30 per year for anybody under 10 acres. 10 acres or more, it's $3 per parcel per year. We have to have all of those individual agreements to come back because this is a voluntary effort and a voluntary program, and that's how the rules and regulations were set between the county commissioners and our board of supervisors. If one individual does not decide to be a part of the project fails. If the project does move forward and we have 100% commitment, our office moves into complete survey, complete design, take care of all bidding, award all bidding, and oversee the construction to completion. Once completion is completed, if there is not a phase 1 or a phase 2, our office hydroseeds the easement, which allows in future use for the county maintenance department to maintain those ditches. And what they do with that is they mow twice a year, spray every third year with environmentally safe spray, and upkeep the ditch for the life of the ditch as long as there is funding that is being assessed from the individual landowners on that project. I am submitting a proposal to the commissioners and asking if they would fund for 2007 $100,000 to complete the projects that we have on board right now. The two projects that are up in air would be Schroeder Ditch. We have funding allocated for partial construction, not complete construction, and this is a phase 2. Phase 1 has already been done in 2006. If we cannot complete phase 2, then phase 1 was just a total wash. It sits until we're able to take care of it. Phase 1 of Schroeder Ditch was all the clearing. That was taking care of everything that was within that ditch. Trees were removed, every shrub. There were some trees left per landowner to allow the project to go through. Phase 2 is the actual construction of dipping the ditch, hauling the dirt away, and then finally would be seeding the easement and then turning it over to the maintenance department for maintenance. The next project is Deborah Drive. We haven't even started a bid process with that. The plans have been approved by the engineer's office. We do not have the funding to move forward with that project. When we started doing the bid estimate for Schroeder Ditch, it wound up being so much more than when we had anticipated, which took the funding away from Deborah Drive. I attached with you some literature. Schroeder Ditch is in Carlisle Township and New Russia Township. We have an estimated engineer's cost of a little over $128,000. We're approximately $40,000 short. That would be for completion all the way up to seeding. This ditch is approximately 12,500 feet long. That's approximately 2.5 miles. It is the main drainage source for the Lorain County Regional Airport. We have 30 individuals on that land project, and we hope to put that out for bid April 2nd. That is for Phase 2. The other project that is up in the air is for Deborah Drive in Elyria Township. We don't even have an engineer's estimate on that because we have not done bid process like I explained due to funding. We're estimating approximately $50,000 to complete that project. That is about 2,500 feet in length, a half a mile, with 15 landowners on that project. And if you want to look at your pictures just very briefly, the first three are the first project that was completed in 2006, and that was Lindsley Ditch. That was a repair, and at the completion of the project, we put a sign out explaining the project with the commissioners' names on the signs. That way everybody knows that it is funded by the Lorain County Commissioners. This project is done in cooperation with our office and the county engineer's office as well. Also, I have pictures there of Shorter Ditch, which Phase 1 was completed in 2006. Again, that is in Carlisle and New Russia Township on Elyria and Westridge Road. There are several photos of that. I also have photos of Delafield Ditch, which we had completed Phase 1 in 2006. We do have money set aside for Phase 2. That bid process has taken place. We have a contractor that has been awarded. Construction will start, weather depending, April 15th and end June 1st. We also have other projects in here that there is no funding for, that we're waiting for individual agreements to come back, which is Squires, Bannister, Carpenter, and Plum Creek. This is a very, very important project to have, the drainage program. We get a lot of calls. I have a lot of support from the township trustees and the township association. I would really like to finish out these projects for this year and move forward and make sure that all the transitions move very smoothly. I know John Bourne had talked to you, Lori, yesterday, and he spoke very highly of you and said that you were in favor of these projects, and I just hope that I get the commissioner's blessing. Do you have any questions, please?
Well, I think Commissioner Blair and I, was it last summer, went out and looked at all these projects, all the ditches that they had done, and you guys do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Probably would have been better if you came next Thursday. I mean, kind of get an idea what's going to happen with the sales tax.
Okay, I do not live in this county. I live in the very southwest corner of Erie County. And I just started getting the Lorain Journal on the weekends. So I don't know your activity except for hearsay in the office, and I did not know that that was an issue till yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I wasn't up to date on that.
Yeah, that's the only concern. We kind of have to wait and see what's going to happen with that before we can do anything. But if that doesn't go on the ballot and the tax goes through, I would be more than happy to refund you that $100,000 that you need for 2007.
And I would support on that, Commissioner, but at this point, Nancy, we've got to wait and see where our budgets are. If the sales tax does end up on the ballot in November, we'll know we're not going to receive sales tax this year, and we'll have to go forward with the cuts we've already made.
Okay.
So,
all right.
This is one of those projects outside of the normal budget, so.
Yes, it is.
I've long been a supporter of the Soil and Water Conservation District's drainage program. I see some of your board here, and they brought it to my attention that the previous sales tax promised them certain dollars, and they never got any. So I think you've done a wonderful job with the dollars that were given to you, and I'm fully in support of your program, with or without the sales tax.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Any public comment?
One at a time.
Yep, come on up.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ed Niger. I'm a Columbia Township trustee. I was here about 6 or 8 months ago when we had a petition for the Carpenter Ditch. The problem there was that we did not have an outlet for it. We wanted to put in a drain tile from Mitchell Road going back to a ditch that lets out to a new development, which has already been ditched and turned over to the county. In order for us to be successful, Commissioner Blair asked us that we should go to Soil and Water and talk to them about it. I don't know if you remember that, Commissioner. And since then, we've been trying to work with Soil and Water. But if you don't fund them, what good is all our efforts? So if you don't fund Soil and Water for this year and next year and beyond, how do the people in the townships able to help control some of the flooding that's happening due to some of the new construction, but also some of the old ditches and the old tile that's currently failing? So I'm asking you to please consider not only the support of the $100,000, but to increase funding for this. No, it's a hard sell and it's a hard thing to understand, but unless you live in the county that has, or in the township that has flooding problems, and I've had 5 feet of water in the basement in a new house. I came within 2 inches of blowing the whole electrical system with water going into the house. Now, yes, I'm on the Carpenter ditch. I'm the contact person for Nancy in the Soil and Water area. But unless we have the funding, where do we go from here? So thank you for your time.
Thank you. You guys can come stand in line, probably make it easier, one after another. Mr. Scheitauer?
I'm here, or Rob Scheitauer, Larry Township trustee, and I'm here in support of Nancy's request. And I would just like to back this program up a little bit on how everything starts. It starts with a phone call from a resident that they got a water problem. You go out and talk to that resident. Naturally, it's a ditch problem. Then you got to work with the residents from point A to point B to get all these residents signed up. Once you get them signed up, I got files here for 9 ditches in the township. They're not thin. You approach the Soil Water Board, and I see Bob over here. I believe you're still probably chairman. Bob? You go to that Soil Water Board meeting, you got a group of gentlemen there. They make their living in the farming industry. You mention a 5-letter word, ditch, and I'm going to tell you something. You got their undivided attention. You can hear a pin drop. At that point, you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. You walk in there with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, you might as well hit the door. That folder better be at least a 1/4 inch thick, if not more. By the time that program's done, 3/4 inch to 1 inch thick folder. The point I'm making here is we don't want to pass this problem down to our younger generation and our children. We don't want to invite the West Nile virus into Lorain County. The younger generation's got a problem in the future. We got global warming. They don't need this ditch problem. We can solve this problem with the commissioners approving $100,000. And I agree with the other trustee. I wouldn't give them $100,000. I'd give them $200,000. That's what it's going to take to keep this program moving. So if you ever got time and if you like to share these notes I got here, I'd be glad to come to your office and show you what it takes to even step in and talk to that board. I called Nancy up about 2 weeks ago. We had a meeting. It was a pre-construction meeting. I was going to leave a message about 6:30, 7 p.m. the night prior. Here she picks the phone up. I says, Nancy, I said, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm getting a program ready to go in another township, and I believe it was a ditch program. Was that correct, Nancy? You know, if I was signing checks for the county, I'd want people like that on my payroll. You got an excellent board here, and I see a number of them here today. The reason they're here, they're concerned about this program. I don't think I need to say any more. I'd just like for you guys to really consider on funding this program in the future. And I thank you for your time.
Hey, Rob, I don't think any of us don't want to fund it,
Right.
but we've got concerns, and we, as a board, unanimously approved putting the 1/4% sales tax on, so we wouldn't have to continue to cut these programs. I don't think any of us don't believe there's a serious need for this water problem,
Right.
from the south of the county all the way north to the lake.
Well,
So
I did like the comments I heard prior to getting up here. Everybody's in favor of it. That's a plus. So I appreciate that.
could use a couple letters of support. Well, but,
A couple letters of support for the sales
I
tax
can get
might
you all
help
the
us.
letters of support you want.
Well, there's been plenty of push against our sales tax, and these
Oh,
are simply
oh.
the programs that we've tried to explain to the public, but that we don't get a lot of yardage out of the newspapers for, that they don't understand. And we need the help of people that are benefiting from these programs to be more aggressive and support this board so that there's a greater amount of realization that we need funding to be able to do these things. And there's a big drive out there right now with a referendum push to take that sales tax off. I'll say it right here while we're on TV. Where do they think that money's going to come from? Where is it going to come from? We already got a deficit. Can only deficit spend for so long. There's only so many beans in the can, so many slices of bread on the loaf, and we need that support. And I'm encouraging you to make sure that the people that you're supporting are supporting us very, very vocally,
As
vocally as
elected
they are here.
officials, Rob, you understand the budget crunches
Oh,
and
I do,
concerns,
yes,
so
I
I
do.
mean,
I'd like to add one more thing. When you get a phone call from a resident and they say, can you come out, I got a problem. We've got another trustee, Bill Holtzman. We go out. When you walk into a resident's home and they say, look at my basement, Rob, male or female, when you see their eyes starting to water, it's like going into a funeral home. Words are hard to come by what to say. It's the toughest thing. I love this job as a trustee. I hate getting a phone call after a heavy rain. I know what it is. Bingo. Flooding problems. Let's keep these ditches moving. Thank you very much.
thank you. Rob.
Rob.
Good morning. My name's Elaine Krieg. I'm chairman of the Amherst Township Zoning Commission. My husband and I have publicly supported the sales tax increase. We have a flooding issue on Stang Road. The ditches are not operating properly, and it's causing a safety issue. It sounds like we need to maybe increase the budget here for the ditches, but I think it's a necessary thing because it's a safety issue. And the buses, the Amherst buses can't get through. One day they had to stop, get out, and actually check the water level because it flooded in the middle of Stang, which it didn't do before. And on Stang Road, people drive quickly and they drive fast, and all we need is another accident or a hydroplane. So, I do support this program. I do support the sales tax, and these meetings are very informative. I thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Elaine.
you, Elaine.
Good morning. Mark McConnell, Pittsfield Township trustee. I've been involved with the ditch program prior to the conception, I guess, in all phases. Actually was ditch manager for the phase of the Lindsley ditch. So you have a world-class program here. It actually should be advertised in the regional area. I think it's a model program that a lot of counties could benefit from copying, and it appears that the commissioners are all in favor of continuing it if possible. I applaud that. It's amazing because it may benefit 10 or 30 property owners this year. 5 years from now, post-development, it might be benefiting 3,000 property owners with the same dollars. So I just want to say it's been what I think probably some of the most efficient money spent in the county in the past several years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
I
Do you
think
have
we
a
need you
slide?
over here, Neil. Unless you have a
Well,
slide.
other than I have some pictures over here that I
Okay.
need to show.
Okay.
Is that okay?
He'll
Yeah, who
find
sets
you.
that up, though?
I hear the camera moving.
That's fine. He's okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, I'm Neil Lynch. I'm a trustee in Amherst Township. And I recognize that you guys are challenged with some fiscal constraints. And you may not be able to fund all the programs that you have in the past at the same level. But I still want to support Nancy Fanai's request here on behalf of the Soil and Water Conservation District to continue funding this program. And I know we've talked about the cost and we've talked about spending money, but I think sometimes we have to look at things in terms of an investment. Yes, the county commissioners have been very gracious in putting the initial investment and seed money to this, but I think we need to recognize long-term the property owners pay for the ongoing costs of that maintenance program. But we need to make that initial investment to get things moving. I also want to make sure I understood the comments correctly that the commissioners made, and so that I understand your positions. I believe Commissioner Kokoski and Commissioner Kalo gave their conditional support for this program funding the sales tax situation. And Commissioner Blair, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I heard unconditional support from you. Is that correct?
That is.
I do appreciate that, and you see many of the townships that are represented here appreciate that. I think you recognize this is an investment. Long term, it is the property owners that pay the ongoing cost of this program. I will show some pictures later. I think Nancy may have given you some, but I think for any of the public that views this, the picture is always worth 1,000 words. But I do want to cover a few other things here that I don't think were covered previously. The urbanized townships in Lorain County experienced an unfunded mandate here a few years ago by the Ohio EPA in terms of the Phase 2 stormwater management requirements. This was a requirement to minimize the pollution of the waters of the state of Ohio and also to minimize the erosion of our soils in this area. Obviously something that Soil and Water Conservation will support. In those urbanized townships, you've got Eaton Township, Amherst Township, Grafton Township, Columbia Township, Sheffield Township, Elyria Township. I'm sure I'm going to miss a few, but it tends to be the area where the population is centralizing in addition to a lot of our businesses. Well, as part of that, several of us have shown a partnership with Soil and Water Conservation and also hoping the ongoing investment in this program so that we can meet those requirements by the Ohio EPA. It also needs to be recognized that back about 30 years ago, the state legislature took any authority away from townships in terms of the maintenance of these ditches, which puts us in a very difficult situation. We've got situations here that not only do we have the health concerns and environmental concerns, but we've got real risk here to people. We're talking a safety risk in addition to property risk. Imagine what happens when you have those ditches that are close to your roadways, right where you have motoring public going by who don't always stay within the lanes that you hope they'll stay into. When those ditches are low, it's usually not an issue. But any type of rain event, which may not even be in your township, it could be from the drainage course that's upstream, those things overflow, those motorists end up in those ditches. And I think that we've seen that situation in several of our communities here in southern Lorain County, in Columbia Township, Amherst Township, Wellington Township, and those have resulted in real losses, not only the property losses, but we've actually had losses of life. I believe it was in 2001, we had what would have been a simple motor vehicle accident in Amherst Township at the intersection of Stang and Oberlin Road that turned into drowning. And the drowning was because those ditches were overfilled. This happened to be a ditch that Amherst Township hopes to get on the program. We've been running into difficulties of meeting the 100% sign up on the petition. And imagine you want to get a sales tax passed, you only need a simple majority. Try and get 100%. It's not always easy because there is a cost to those residents in the long term to be on that program. They recognize that, and not all of them recognize the seriousness of the situation. Then imagine the safety risk to your emergency forces. Every time someone ends up in one of those ditches, they have to come out. So you have your fire personnel, your emergency medical personnel, and they're all putting their lives at risk trying to get those individuals out of those ditches. And we've all seen that play out. We've seen it play out over time. We aren't going to be able to eliminate that 100%. But with this investment, we can certainly reduce those risks. And we can't put a price tag on those. It is difficult. So within the financial constraints that you have, I certainly hope that you can continue this funding. I think we need to recognize too that there's always what the prosecutor would probably determine the attractive nuisance when you have this flooding. When the kids are off school and we have these floodings in the township, there's something about high water that just attracts kids. And they want to go to that high water. And they're too young to realize that the risk that they're taking when they go to that area. So we have to come up with some method where we can prevent this backup of water and minimize it, or minimize the amount of time that it stays there. Now we recognize that eventually the water goes away. You know, it's a funny thing about water. It always wants to keep on moving. But it's, can we do something to minimize the amount of time or the duration that those high water events continue? Now hopefully I can get these pictures up for you.
You
I don't know if this turns on or not.
Before you do, you had mentioned that the EPA has limited your authority in regards to the ditches. What authority did the townships have on the ditches prior to their change, the EPA change?
It was actually and Mr. Ennis may want to mention this, it was the state legislature, not the EPA. I'm sure the EPA doesn't care who takes care of it. It's just a matter of being able to go on people's property and clean these ditches. We do have some limited authority along the roadways if we stay within the right-of-way, or if we get property owners permission and it's undermining our roads, to clean that portion only. But as the engineer's office and soil and water conservation have told us multiple times, it doesn't do a whole lot of good to clean 125 foot of ditch. All you've done is dipped out the area and cleaned it so that it can eventually fill in as that water moving down with all the runoff deposits it and refills a small section that you cleared. We really need to get a full ditch that has a full outfall to actually move this water. Now what we're talking about is speed to reduce the duration, and we're talking about volume capacity. And so it's, again, just doing a little part doesn't help us.
Right.
But that was the Ohio legislature that took that away. The EPA just gave us additional requirements, and so it's kind of, here, we'll tie a hand behind your back, you know, now go ahead and keep on doing what you were doing before. It's very difficult.
I think we were coming up.
I think you got it.
That's why you get paid the big bucks, Teresa.
You paid a lot more for all this. All right.
Oh, look at that.
We don't need IT.
What you've got here, this particular ditch is in Amherst Township. This is the Batten House ditch, and by no means is this the worst condition. This just happened to be during the daytime after the water was already going down that you could actually take photos. And this particular one, we heard some of the previous trustees talk about loss of their electrical system and some flooding. Imagine if you're this resident. This is their driveway coming out right here. This is their front yard. Their home is sitting right here. They've got water right up to the garage. This road here has a speed limit of 55 miles an hour. Imagine how you float across that when there's water there. Now imagine hitting this at night. Now the township's aware whenever there's a rain event, even when it's in southern Lorain County, that water's all coming to Amherst Township. We're on the northern end. And so our road crew gets up at night, they go out and put up the flashing signs, and if we don't have enough flashing signs at all the intersections where we have water, our new intersection, water and road, they literally pull the township vehicles there and sit there with their emergency flashers on. Not a real effective expenditure of taxpayer dollars. But it's the only thing we can do to slow people down because they're not expecting this. Realize the people that come through here are not always local, that are shooting through, and immediately they're going to be in deep water and they're flying off, and odds are they're ending up in that ditch, and then you've got a real issue.
What street is that?
This particular one is over on Stang Road. Here what we've got on Stang Road, the road supervisor took this picture to show the flooding of the property owner. What I wish he would have gotten is over here, you've got another section flooding over the road. And again, this is after the water's going down. Imagine what it was ahead of time. And again, these are traveled not just by the motoring public, but our emergency services. What do you do when you have an emergency in there? Hope the water's not real deep and drive very slow. On this section, our school buses turn around. They can't get through. That's okay if there's only one crossing intersection on Stang Road. Well, I don't have them in order, we'll get there, but there's two. So you've got homes in between water courses going across the road. Those people in the middle, I guess their kids just have to wait till the water goes down to get to school and someone else gets them there. This happens to be a property owner on the east side of Oberlin Road. He's got the water coming right up here to his driveway. The ditch is actually back in this area beyond this tree line. Obviously well overflowed its banks. This is that other section of Stang Road I was referring to. The original picture you saw is the flooding back here. Then you see the road crowns in this area. Then it comes back and it says, you know what, I don't think you guys had enough water, I'm going to hit you again. So the people that live in the center here, they're stuck till the water goes down. This is the intersection of Oberlin Road and Stang. This is Oberlin Road heading north. This water here you can see that's filled up, and you see all the trees and everything we have growing in. This is the one section the township can clean. Doesn't do us a whole lot of good, though, to clean that spot. This is the situation. Imagine at an intersection, where do most of your motor vehicle accidents and incidences occur? At intersections. And once you guys hit each other, you push each other off, and for some reason this is the magnet that attracts the motorist. And this is where we have had the actual deaths in here, not from the accident, but the deaths from the drownings. Fortunately, it eventually goes down. And then it starts looking a little more serene like this. The ditch is actually sitting in the back here. You can see where it's flooding up our road and does go over the roads. I'm sure the county engineer who helps us with our roads will tell you this is not a good situation for roads. And what happens is we start degrading the underbed of those roads. Unfortunately, maybe they have to wait till it's just beyond hope before they finally understand how important it is. And for Commissioner Blair, I really appreciate your unconditional support. I think you recognize that this is an investment and not just a cost. And long term, the residents will be the ones that will be burdened with the support of this. But at $3 an acre, $30 if you're less than 10 each year, seems like a very small cost and really should be looked at as an investment versus what we're going to gain by keeping these ditches clean. So thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Any other comments? President, push the same button. See if it
I
goes
don't know
off.
which one that was.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Bob Turnus. I am the chairman of the Lorain Soil and Water Conservation District. I'd like to thank all the people here that spoke today on behalf of our program. Neil did a great job explaining how important that is for both safety and infrastructure protection. And when we talk about drainage issues in the county, we really do have to consider that it is drainage. It is an infrastructure improvement in our county. It's not unlike a storm sewer in a city, water main, or any other infrastructure. While it may not be bricks and mortar, it is real infrastructure improvements, and it does protect a lot of the other public dollars that we've spent. I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of this program and just briefly tell you how it initially was funded. Back in 1985, as Commissioner Blair had indicated earlier, at that time there was also a piggyback sales tax increase being proposed by a prior Board of Commissioners, so I won't put that on you. But they actually promised at that time that there would be permanent funding of $200,000 annually towards a drainage program, countywide drainage program. We did get 1 year of that funding in 1985, and I believe we actually worked on, way back then, I think it was the Draper Ditch, but I'm not sure. That's going quite a ways back. I was not on the board at that time, but we could produce that letter if you'd like to see it publicly asking for the support from the Soil and Water Board and townships, who even at that time recognized the need for those permanent drainage improvements to be installed. Had we, had the commissioners in Lorain County continued on with that $200,000 program, we would be in year 21 of that right now, and we would have spent a little over $4 million in drainage improvements. I feel like a lot of the things you saw on your slideshow we might not have to that extent today. But as it was, we got a one-time allocation, and that didn't go very far. Then along about 2000, we sort of publicly embarrassed a prior board of commissioners into reinstituting this program, and we got some very, very generous allocation at that time of $500,000, one-time appropriation. Of course, we were, at that time, we had to formulate a completely new program. We had to hire some staff to administer it. It took us a couple years to get going, but we spent those funds, and then we had, I believe, 2 more yearly appropriations from the commissioners. So really, in total, we've had about 670, maybe 840,000 since since the year 2000. So we're still woefully short of that $4 million plus that we would have been spending on that infrastructure had we stayed with the original agreement from 1985. And I think most people in the rural areas would be glad to endorse the sales tax and certainly supportive of it. We understand the constraints on the commissioners when you have difficulty deciding what to fund, what not to fund. But we sort of feel like this was a program that was promised at the very first sales tax request back in 1985, but it never really was followed through. So I think, from my point of view, I'd like to offer the district support for the sales tax increase, but also we'd like to see you fund this unconditionally, regardless of whether the sales tax goes through or not. And I respectfully ask that you reconsider the contingency upon the success of that, and I would ask that you support it unconditionally, as Commissioner Blair has indicated. Do you have any questions for me?
We weren't here in 1985. Sorry
No.
about the promises were made then,
I
Bob.
understand that.
Yeah.
But I think Jim had made a good point earlier, the county administrator. He said, well, would we support the sales tax increase this time? And I think we'd be glad to, just as we did the last time, but we'd hate to have it pulled out again. So I think that's the reason you may hear some hesitation, and also the emphasis on that this is real infrastructure improvements. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to commend the Soil and Water Conservation Board for the criteria that they developed over a long period of time to spend this money, which I think very wisely it was done. And one of their considerations was that you had to, in fact, get on maintenance, as was pointed out by several of the speakers. And I think that was a requirement made of the property owners, and it was a little give and take. And I think that was a wise decision that they made, and I'd like to applaud them for what they've done to date with the money that we've given them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment now, Teresa?
Okay.
Okay. I think we've had a lot, but let's go to public comment if there's any other issues out there. No one? I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session as outlined by the county administrator and Mr. Ennis.
Second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming today.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
In 1787, the Continental Congress organized the lands from the Ohio River to the Mississippi into the Northwest Territories. In 1803, the first of these territories to become a state was Ohio. Ohio was in turn divided into various land grants, including the Connecticut Western Reserve in the northeast corner of the state. The Western Reserve included the area that is today Lorain County. As Ohio gradually increased its counties to the present 88, the land we know as Lorain County went through several changes. Until 1810, the area was split between Geauga and Portage counties. When the area was being organized into Lorain County in 1822, it was created out of land from Huron, Cuyahoga, and Medina counties. At the time of its birth, Lorain County included Olmsted Township, now in Cuyahoga County, Spencer and Homer Townships, now in Medina County, and Troy and Sullivan Townships, now in Ashland County. This map illustrates the county as it appeared at the time of Ohio's centennial, and although some of the townships have been absorbed by incorporation, it also represents the shape of Lorain County today. Let's take a brief historical look at each of Lorain County's 21 townships. In 1807, the Calvin Hoadley and Herman Bronson families of Waterbury, Connecticut, began the settlement of Columbia. After a 3-month trek, the pioneers arrived in their new homeland in time to celebrate Christmas. The Bronsons, including their 7-month-old son, began that winter sheltered by their overturned bobsled wagon, converted into a frontier lean-to. The mouth of the Black River also saw the beginning of its first settlement in 1807, when Azariah Beebe established a trading post for Nathan Perry. This area, which 20 years earlier had seen a short-lived Moravian mission, would gradually grow into the village of Charleston in the township called Black River. Years later, this township would be removed from county maps because of the incorporation of the city of Lorain. Charleston adopted the county's name of Lorain when the city was incorporated in 1874. The dramatic growth of the city